Okay, so here we have math topic 3.1. This is part 2. We have already looked at the distributive property of multiplication. You're going to need to know this because you're going to have to look back at this video. We've looked at what the partial product is, and we have looked at what the product is. All right, and distributive property. All right, so now what you have to do, and whether you realize it or not, let's see, hold on. In this activity, you're going to use these examples for, you're going to use these word cards. These are your word cards. You've got associative property of multiplication, numerical expression, distributive property, compensation, partial products, commutative property, array, and area model. Specifically, right now, we have already looked at partial product, okay? And we have already looked at distributive property, and we have looked at associative property of multiplication. All right? So we've looked at all of these really, but specifically today, these are the ones that we've looked at. So what you're going to do is you're going to have a vocabulary card. All right? And so here in the middle, what you're going to do is you're going to write your first one, which is associative property. Okay, and then what you're going to do is, and this is super important, and then what you're going to do is on the left hand side you're going to write examples. I've already given you examples. You can use some of the examples by looking back in the videos that I provided, or you can come up with your own. Some of the examples that we saw for the associative property in a previous lesson, that's distributive. Let's see. Partial. Okay. All right, so associative. If we said 12 times 2 is 24, so if we said 12 times 2 equals 24, we could also say that 2 times 6 is 12 times 2 is 24. Or we could, right here, we could say 4 times 3 is 12 times 2 is 24. We could say 4 times 3 is 12. 4 times 2 is 8. And then 12. Wait, let's see. 4 times 3 is 12. Sorry, that's not right. That's when you add. So we could say 4 times 3 plus 2 is 6. So 3 times 2 is 6. So 4 times 6 is 24. And then here we could say 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 equals 4 times 3 times 2, which is 6. So 4 times 6 is 24. And 12 times 2 is 24. All right, so we could write that exact same problem here. We could say 4, let's see. All right, so if we wanted to write the same thing, that's fine. We could put 4 times 3 times 2 equals 24. So my product is 24, right? So 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. We could also say 4 times 3 times 2. We could do 4 times 3 times 2. So 3 times 2 is 6. Bring down my 4. 4 times 6 is 24. All right. And then we could also say 4 times 3 times 2. 4, let's see, times 3 times 2. Did I write that right? Yeah. 4 times 3 times 2. So 4 times 3 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. And then you have to write related words that you know. Like the root word for associative property is associate. All right, so I could write that, associate. Okay, and then property, that makes me think of something that someone owns. Okay, and so if I want to tell about it, I could say, okay, I see that the same numbers, when I say numbers, I mean 4, 3, and 2. So there's 4, 3, and 2, 4, 3, and 2, 4, 3, and 2. I am dividing or multiplying all 3 numbers each time. The only thing that's changing is the numbers I multiply together. For example, I multiply 4 times 3 times 2 in the first one, or first example. 4 times 3 equals 12. 12 times 2 equals 24. Short and sweet. Don't forget to indent. That's part of our writing this week, okay? All right, so you need to do this. Again, you need to do this for associative property, distributive property, and partial product. And then you'll click submit. So you need to get these 3 done today.